Facts over feelings. The truth doesn't care about your comfort zone. I'm that guy. And we're getting into it. Welcome back to Facts Over Feelings. I'm your host, that guy, and today we are pulling back the curtain on something that has been decades in the making, something the mainstream media refuses to talk about honestly. Today we're asking the question, has communism invaded the Democrat Party? And more importantly, who let it happen? Now, before anyone starts screaming, I'm not talking about your neighbor who votes Democrat because they care about health care. I'm talking about an ideological takeover at the institutional level, an agenda rooted in Marxist theory that has quietly, systematically replaced classical liberalism inside one of America's two major political parties. Let's follow the trail. Chapter 1. The Roots, Saul Alinsky and the Playbook. To understand where we are, you have to go back to Saul Alinsky, a Chicago-based community organizer who wrote two books that became the Bible of the radical left, Reveille for Radicals in 1946 and the more famous Rules for Radicals in 1971. Alinsky dedicated Rules for Radicals, and I want you to hear this, to, quote, the first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom. Lucifer. That's a direct quote from the dedication page. Alinsky's strategy wasn't armed revolution, it was infiltration. Get inside institutions, change them from within, use language, emotion, and crisis to push a radical agenda while calling it progress. Sound familiar? This was the blueprint, and two of his most prominent disciples would go on to shape the Democrat Party from the highest levels of power. Chapter 2. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, the Alinsky disciples. Hillary Rodham Clinton wrote her 1969 senior thesis at Wellesley College on Saul Alinsky. She interviewed him personally. She praised his methods. She was offered a job working directly under him, and she declined only because she decided to go to law school instead. Her thesis was kept hidden from the public during the Clinton White House years. Why hide it? Because the ideas in it were radical, even by 1990 standards. Then there's Barack Obama. Before he ever ran for Senate, Obama was a community organizer in Chicago, trained in the exact Alinsky model. He later taught workshops on Alinsky's organizing methods. When asked about Alinsky in interviews, Obama was careful, but the philosophical DNA was undeniable. His entire political career was built on the Alinsky framework: divide by class, stoke resentment, demand redistribution, and reframe everything as a fight between oppressor and oppressed. Under Obama's two terms, the Democrat Party shifted dramatically leftward. On economics, on social policy, on the role of government. That shift didn't happen by accident. Chapter 3. Bernie Sanders, the socialist who normalized Marxism. Let's talk about Bernie Sanders, a man who honeymooned in the Soviet Union in 1988, praised Fidel Castro's literacy programs, and openly calls himself a democratic socialist. For decades, Bernie was a fringe figure, a guy the party tolerated but kept at arm's length. Then 2016 happened. Bernie's presidential campaign mainstreamed socialist ideology for an entire generation of young Americans. Free college, Medicare for all, wealth taxes, the seizure of private industries. He didn't call it Marxism, he called it fairness. But the economic framework was the same. Government control of the means of production, redistribution of wealth, and the demonization of the successful as the enemy of the people. And here's what's critical. Bernie didn't just run. He won the argument inside the party. The 2020 Democrat platform adopted huge chunks of his agenda. His people were embedded in every major committee. He changed what was acceptable to say out loud in American politics. That is ideological conquest. Period. Chapter 4. The Squad and the DSA. Now let's talk about the next generation. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, the members of the Squad. Several of them are card-carrying members of the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA. The DSA is not a moderate organization. They're official literature advocates for the abolition of capitalism. They are socialists, and some members hold openly Marxist views. And yet, they sit in the United States Congress as Democrats. They chair committees, they write legislation. AOC's Green New Deal was not a fringe document. It was co-signed by over 100 Democrat members of Congress. It calls for a government-managed economic transformation of the entire country. That's not liberalism. That's central planning. That's Marxism with a green coat of paint. The Democrat Party leadership, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, did not expel these members. They accommodated them, appeased them, gave them platforms and power. That is not pushback. That is surrender. Chapter 5. The Long March Through the Institutions. Here's the deeper truth. The communist-adjacent left didn't just take over the Democrat Party. They took over the institutions that feed it: the universities, the media, the teachers' unions, the HR departments of major corporations. The philosopher Antonio Gramsci, an Italian Marxist, laid out this strategy in the 1930s. He called it the Long March Through the Institutions. Instead of seizing power through armed revolution, the radical left would capture culture. Schools, press, entertainment, government agencies, raise a generation that thinks in Marxist categories: oppressor versus oppressed, collective guilt, equity over equality, and the political takeover follows naturally. We are living in that endgame right now. Critical race theory is Marxist class theory with race substituted for class. DEI programs are ideological loyalty tests rooted in collectivist thinking. The demand to defund police, abolish prisons, eliminate borders, these are not liberal ideas. They are revolutionary ideas dressed in progressive language. Chapter 6. Who let it happen? So who's responsible? The list is long, but the key figures are the ones who had the power to stop it and chose not to. Bill Clinton shifted the party left in the 90s while pretending to be a moderate. Barack Obama brought the Alinsky framework into the White House and normalized the language of class warfare. Bernie Sanders made socialism mainstream and was never seriously challenged on it by party leadership. Nancy Pelosi protected squad members instead of marginalizing them. Media figures at CNN, MSNBC, The New York Times, and The Washington Post provided the ideological air cover, labeling any opposition as racism, fascism, or extremism. And the American voter, distracted, divided, and emotionally manipulated, didn't see it coming until it was already inside the house. Closing. Look, calling something communist used to end a conversation. Now the left wears it as a badge. That tells you everything. The question isn't whether this happened. The evidence is overwhelming. The question is, what are you going to do with this information? Share it. Talk about it. Stop letting feelings get in the way of facts. I'm that guy. This is Facts Over Feelings. Don't tune out. Tune in. See you next time.